I love action. It's my favorite genre of film. I love it when it's done well, and I loathe it when it isn't.
Anything new?
No.
Many of my favorite action films came out in the 80s. 1987 was a huge year for action films. There was Predator, RoboCop, Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Raising Arizona, Over the Top, and the debut of a new Bond in The Living Daylights. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of The Living Daylights, unfortunately, is the bad reception Timothy Dalton received during his two-movie run as James Bond. But the second thing I think of is the gritty realism of his Bond. He was really the first actor to truly embody the dark James Bond character that was written by Ian Fleming in his novels. The Living Daylights as a story is like a series of Russian dolls. We're shown one story, and as that story begins, we realize something different has begun. And then as that something begins, we realize something has changed again. The Bond movies have a way of doing this, quite ingeniously in my opinion. Now they can and are looked at as quaint adventure films by a lot of people. But if you're taking that viewpoint, then the purpose these stories fulfill has gone right over your small little head. The James Bond films are experiences. We're sucked into the world that they provide. We're going through the story in James Bond's shoes. In the opening scene of a Bond film, especially, we are usually denied the same information Bond is denied. That way we're on the edge of our seats trying to figure out what's going to happen next. A few of the Bond films lose sight of this principle completely, and because of that, the value of the experience watching those films is diminished. But The Living Daylights, after A View to a Kill, brought the Bond series back to this principle. The opening scene of The Living Daylights is pitch perfect. We are shown something ordinary. The 00 section is participating in a field test. That's pretty ordinary for a Bond film, but the scene doesn't linger on that feeling of normalcy for too long. It gives the audience just enough time to start guessing at what the danger could be here, before actually showing them what the danger is. The moments are perfectly orchestrated to last a certain amount of time, and as far as things go visually, it's aged very well, due to the great use of practical effects from Chris Corbould and his team, and the excellent wide-angle shot composition from director John Glenn, who is entering his third outing as a director for the series. I could talk about the awesome downhill Jeep set piece that culminates with Bond parachuting out of the Jeep before it hits the water and explodes, or the perfect delivery of those immortal lines.
Bond, James Bond.
But I think the best moment to talk about in this scene is the sequence on the cliff, where 004's rope is cut by the villainous imposter, sending him to his death. This moment serves as the visual and auditory crescendo, where the action begins to spike exponentially in the minutes following. The story makes sure to take its time with the moment, to ingrain in the audience that this is no longer just a test. The stakes are real, and they are deadly. And after this point, the chase ensues quickly. The imposter gets in a jeep and tries to escape, but Bond catches up to him. The action builds and builds and builds all the way to the resolution, which comes in the form of a light comedic exchange.
I'll report in an hour.
Won't you join me?
Better make that 2.
I love this opening scene very much, and I think that Timothy Dalton deserves more praise for his portrayal of the character, because without him, we might have never had this.
Yes. Considerably.